Älmhult in Sweden is the birthplace of the former richest man in the world in the furniture industry. Born on March 30th, 1926, Ingvar Kamprad founded IKEA, which went on to become the largest furniture store of all time. Älmhult in Sweden is the birthplace of the former richest man in the world in the industry. Ingvar grew up on a small farm in Sweden, a country plagued by severe poverty at that time. But the hardships he endured turned out to be a blessing, as he incorporated the values he learned during those difficult times into the ethics of Ingvar Kamprad, Elm Tarid Agun Arid. To meet their needs back then, farming families engaged in entrepreneurial activities, selling handmade products, what we might today call the famous short circuit. Due to the economic crisis, many children worked alongside their parents to make ends meet. Let's look at this. While many children worked on the farm with their parents, Ingvar did things a bit differently. At the age of 6, he began selling matches and realized he could be even more successful by selling more than just matches. By the age of 10, he was selling Christmas decorations, pencils, and even fish. For distribution, he used his mother's bike until he could finally buy one for himself. The young Kamprad learned quickly and became a numbers expert, understanding how to keep prices low while making money to help his family. At 14, he moved to a boarding school, but this move did not hinder his business at all. He even expanded it. His nightstand at the boarding school was full of belts, pens, watches, wallets, and other school items. After collecting a nice sum of money, he launched his first company, IKEA, at 17. The first IKEA store sold household items like pens, wallets, and picture frames. The company didn't enter the furniture sector until 5 years after its creation. From the beginning, Kamprad made the mail-order catalog an essential and specific component of the business. Sweden was a mostly rural and isolated country, and it was difficult to reach large populations, especially in the 1940s and 1950s. As his business grew, Kamprad realized that the key to success was finding the simplest and most affordable distribution method. Ingvar Kamprad, Elmtarid Agun Reed, began distributing inexpensive but well-made products. Consequently, Ingvar Kamprad started as a direct import and mail-order business, selling watches, pens, and similar items. However, success came with furniture, mainly due to the high demand for furniture in post-war Sweden. Älmhult in Sweden is the birthplace of the former richest man in the world in the furniture industry. Born on March 30th, 1926, Ingvar Kamprad founded IKEA, which went on to become the largest furniture store of all time. Älmhult in Sweden is the birthplace of the former richest man in the world in the industry. Ingvar grew up on a small farm in Sweden, a country plagued by severe poverty at that time. But the hardships he endured turned out to be a blessing, as he incorporated the values he learned during those difficult times into the ethics of Ingvar Kamprad, Elm Tarid Agun Arid. To meet their needs back then, farming families engaged in entrepreneurial activities, selling handmade products, what we might today call the famous short circuit. Due to the economic crisis, many children worked alongside their parents to make ends meet. One day, Ingvar said, "My main competitor advertised in the newspaper, so I decided to try it too. I started my furniture business by accident just to beat my competitors, and that determined my destiny." Then came the breakthrough. The company began selling flat-pack furniture sold in separate parts to facilitate transport and assembled by the buyer. This is the IKEA we know today. This shift marked a fundamental change in IKEA's furniture philosophy. The idea was that Ingvar could offer a unique furniture brand for all layers of society, from the poorest to the wealthiest, all at the same time. By packing flat, this reduced transportation risks and costs. Outside Sweden, the first stores opened in Norway and Denmark in 1963 and 1969, respectively. It didn't take long after that for Ingvar Kamprad Elm Tarid Agun Rid to dominate Europe, and soon he opened stores worldwide, including Japan, Australia, and Canada, where lines formed during openings. Kamprad's largest market is Germany, with 52 stores, followed by the United States with 51. Currently, the company operates 433 stores across 38 countries. According to those who knew him, Ingvar was a wise man, acknowledging his flaws and being somewhat eccentric. IKEA remained a private company under his leadership throughout his life. Over his career, Ingvar earned more than $46 billion, yet despite his vast wealth, he continued to visit all new IKEA stores around the world, until his death in 2018 at age 91. For 20 years, he even drove the same Volvo and traveled in economy class. Now, let's talk briefly about IKEA's product names. They're quite unique, right? There's a reason for that. Ingvar was dyslexic, so he named his furniture in a way he could remember. For example, Norway is represented by bed names, Sweden by sofas. Finnish names are used for kitchen tables, originating from geography. Danish names mainly for rugs, Scandinavian male names for bookcases, and adjectives for glasses and mugs. Since IKEA stores are so large, they're often located on the outskirts of big cities, so people usually take some time to reach the store. Ingvar noticed that customers shopped in IKEA stores with an empty stomach. As a result, he decided to open a restaurant in each IKEA store. This way, Ingvar Kamprad Tarid Agun Rid could keep his customers longer, and thus they spent more. Today, the result is that 30% of IKEA's customers go to IKEA just for the restaurant. Finally, according to his will, Kamprad left about half of his wealth to charity. A Swedish economic magazine in 2004 ranked Ingvar among the richest people in the world. His wealth was estimated at $23 billion in 2010 by Forbes, and Bloomberg's Billionaires Index, published in 2015, ranked Ingvar Kamprad 8th in the list of the world's richest people, estimating his net worth at $58.7 billion. To sum up, IKEA's development was at the center of Ingvar's attention. He was one of the most ambitious individuals one could imagine, a true entrepreneur. Ingvar stands out as a major figure of the 20th century, embodying simplicity and ambition, the perfect example of how a true leader should run their company. Ingvar showed that nothing is impossible. One day he declared, "If you work but aren't enthusiastic, then you've wasted a third of your life." That was the brief history of the founder of IKEA. Let me know in the comments if you'd like us to talk about other entrepreneurs who made history. And don't forget to subscribe to avoid missing out on all our new videos.